If you love boxing, you're gonna love this.
Hello and welcome to episode 23 of the BoxNation Podcast. I'm your host, Dev Sani, and this week I am joined by a man who is boxing born, he is boxing bred, and when he dies, he'll be boxing dead. It is, of course, Mr. Steve Lillis.
Hiya, Dev. You get better every week with these intros, pal, don't you, mate? You get better every week. You keep them up, mate. You keep up the intros, mate, and I'll do the talking with you.
Steve, it's just what I do. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm very good.
Yeah. Well, this week, we look ahead to one of the most anticipated, if not the most anticipated fight of 2018 so far. Jorge Linares, the best lightweight in the world. He takes on Vasyl Lomachenko, who might be the best boxer in the world. We get a couple of very qualified opinions from Anthony Crolla and Sam Maxwell on that fight. Heavyweight Tom Little spoke to Steve ahead of his June 23rd clash with young heavyweight sensation Daniel Dubois, and do stick around for this interview as Tom Little really fancies the job. We hear from Mick Conlan ahead of his homecoming, and there's so much more. It's finally fight week for Jorge Linares versus Vasyl Lomachenko. Linares, a four-time three-weight world champion, defends his WBA and Ring Magazine lightweight crown against the man who many believe is the best boxer in the world in Lomachenko. Having won world titles at featherweight and super featherweight, Lomachenko is stepping up to lightweight in a bid to become a three-weight world champion in just his 12th fight. It would be an astonishing achievement. The champion, Jorge Linares, is a man that we know on these shores. He's beaten 3 UK fighters and Kevin Mitchell, Luke Campbell, and of course Anthony Crolla twice. And those 24 rounds with Crolla meant that I told Steve Lillis, mate, you got to give Crolla a call. And he did.
Anthony, there's a big fight this weekend between your old adversary, Jorge Linares, and Vasyl Lomachenko. What's your take on the fight?
For me, as a fight fan and obviously sharing the ring, this is the fight I'm looking forward to most of 2018. I think we've got two of the purest boxers on the planet, two of the most, technically gifted, just two unbelievable boxers, pitting the weights against each other. And it's interesting, obviously, Lomachenko moving up in weight as well. It's for the first time, I think he's fighting someone who's quite a bit naturally bigger than him. I know Linares has gone through the weights, but someone who's a bit naturally bigger than him. I mean, Rigondeaux, as talented as he is, as amazing fighting as that he was much smaller than Lomachenko. And I just believe this time there's going to be a few new questions asked of him from Jorge Linares, and it's a fight I cannot wait for.
I mean, do you think Jorge will miss Ismael Salas not being in the corner? I mean, you've been there when Salas has been against you.
Yeah, that is my one worry. That's one worry. I mean, Jorge looks like he's had a fantastic camp, but I just believe that Ismael Salas and Jorge, they work together so well. They work together so well, and he gets the best out of him. And I hope on Saturday night that doesn't affect him too much. But obviously, yeah, it is a worry because when you look throughout, the career of Jorge Linares, the fight he's never lost with Ismael Salas in his corner. They just seem. I believe certain trainers, certain fighters gel together really well, and that's a partnership there that I thought really was. So I was gutted when to see that it wasn't going to be working together for this fight. We'll see how much of an effect it has on Saturday. I mean, I know someone who helps out, one of Ismael Salas' assistants seems to be around the team, so hopefully it won't have too much of a change for him.
What will Linares do that will surprise Lomachenko? Because he's handled everything so far, apart from, the loss to Salido when he was more old-manned out of it. Yeah. What will surprise him most in this fight that he might not have been surprised about since maybe the Salido loss?
Well, like I said, I mean, Rigondeaux, unbelievably talented, and technically so gifted. But I put Linares up on that, level 2. But he's a little bit bigger. He's a lot bigger than Rigondeaux. So I want to see how he handles that. I mean, listen, there's no denying Lomachenko. He's a special fighter. But you asked the question as well, he's moving through the weights, he's moving through it fast. Sooner or later it comes to an end. Is it on Saturday? Is the time on Saturday? I'm not sure yet. I mean, I hope so for being mates with Jorge Linares, but you keep moving up the weights. So I don't think Lomachenko is a lightweight, is it? So, but what he is a very special fighter. So if he can deal with the height, being the naturally smaller man, if he can deal with that well against a top fighter, Jorge Linares, then that remains to be seen.
What's the biggest thing Linares has to handle? Would it be because Lomachenko has a look at people and then goes through the gears? Will it be stopping him going through the gears?
Yeah, I think it's trying to stop dictating the fight with his movement. For me, Lomachenko, he dictates so many fights just with his movement. A lot of people, in boxing, Russ Abner, he wraps the hands of Lomachenko, and he's done mine. And I remember a few years back, he was saying he's never seen anything like it. He says he's seeing moves, what are going to happen 3-4 steps ahead of other fighters. And he's been around some quality fighters, and he just can't believe how quick and how he manages to read a fighter and what their next move's going to be. So they say boxing can be like a game of chess, and he's a master chess player. Lomachenko, you see like the mind game, the game. He's testing himself, doing different types of training, and exercising the brain all the time, whether that helps or not. I think so, and that's what. Linares has got to be a little bit more predictable. He can't, if he just but he can't let Lomachenko read him like he reads other fighters so quick.
I mean, obviously your heart is rooting for Linares. What's your head telling you how the fight's going to go, Anthony?
I mean, the head tells me that Lomachenko is a very special fighter. Maybe it might be harder, but I really believe that Linares can ask some questions. He looks in great shape. But I believe, I just see a points decision, and I'm hoping it can be Linares who gets the decision. Obviously, like you say, he is an underdog, and he's a big underdog of that. We see now, I think Lomachenko is the next superstar of boxing. But I'm going with Linares. He seems in a great place. And I'll be cheering for him on Saturday morning, early hours Sunday morning, sorry.
Well, Steve, we'll hear from Sam Maxwell shortly, who shared the ring with Lomachenko, but let's get going on this fight. So Crolla is leaning towards Linares this Saturday night, although it sounded a bit more in hope than expectation. What says you?
You know what? I think it's a great fight. It's must-see. That's what you say. Every few years, there's a must-see fight. Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson, must-see. Mayweather Pacquiao, must-see.
Of course.
This is the must-see of 2018.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. I happen to fancy Lomachenko that he can go through the weights. I get totally what Anthony was saying about you can only go so far, and I don't see him. I can't see him really going to welterweight where there's beasts. They're beasts. Some of them.
If you've got Errol Spence up there, who's just
they're beasts.
draining down to it, yeah.
He's pound for pound better. It's pure size. But I think he can go lightweight, maybe some of the light welterweights. But I do fancy Lomachenko because, we had so many of these fights on BoxNation, and we have him yet again this weekend. And he just never disappoints. Even in the loss to Orlando Salido, if been another 2-3 rounds, he would have won the fight. He was just old man out of it. 396-1 as an amateur, I think it was. I mean, it's incredible. He's made the last 4 opponents quit. There's never been a boxer spoken as a man who makes quit. He hasn't made quits so trendy, shall we say, since Sugar Ray Leonard made Duran quit in 1980.
He's brought it back. He's brought quitting back.
He's made quitting fashionable. And you know what? And he was annoyed. He's annoyed these guys are quitting. Some of them took their licks. I'm not going to call them out. But he was annoyed at the end of the Rigondeaux fight,
Yeah, of course.
Linares is a very good fighter. He's naturally bigger. He's got speed. And like Lomachenko, he's a great boxing brain. Add something else on top. He's also a top level fighter. It's brilliant. It's more than
echelon.
Yeah, it's more than this is a super fight. You know what? They might not be the household names of Mayweather, Pacquiao, Lewis, Tyson, but these are 2 brilliant craftsmen. And we should, if any boxing fan if you're not watching this Saturday night, you're not a boxing fan. I'm urging anyone who listens to our podcast and just watches the big names, have a look at this on BoxNation Saturday night and subscribe. It's a special, special fight. The fight of 2018 won't be bettered for quality. It'll be boxing at the very highest level.
It's one of those super standout fights in the boxing calendar. Tell me, is weight going to be a factor in this? It's something that Crolla mentioned there. He thinks that Linares is naturally the bigger man. Do you agree with that?
He is a bit bigger, yeah. He's not like, he's not jumping against a beast. He's not like fighting someone who, some of these lightweights who look like welterweights, but he's fighting a naturally bigger man. Most boxers, when they move through the weights, I remember Nigel Benn saying to me once that when he went up to super middleweight, it still took him 18 months to grow into that weight. So, they grow into that weight, it's how you grow into that weight. And, if he stays at that weight for 18 months or something, you'll think he looks a beast at lightweight. Look, Linares isn't a giant, but he's naturally the bigger man. He'll use maybe a bit of some of that to his advantage, but it's just the all-round brilliance, athleticism, everything that he does, Lomachenko, the way he just looks at opponents for 3 or 4 rounds and starts going through the gears. And it's when he starts going through the gears where I think Linares will start to struggle.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the weight is going to be a real factor in this. Obviously, you mentioned that, Lomachenko could probably go up maybe 1 or 2 more just based on his skill set.
Well, it all depends who you face at the weight, the size.
Yeah, exactly.
It comes a lot of it down to size. I mean, I know we never see. I mean, if anyone's seen Keith Thurman, let me know. But the last time, you stand him next to Keith Thurman, they'd look 3 weight classes apart about, and that would be a massive advantage in Thurman because of all your skills, you got power and there's just size and strength to overcome. So I don't think it is such a massive advantage, but obviously it is something that that tilts in Jorge's way.
Yeah, I mean, Jorge did come up through the weights as well. He won world titles at feather and super feather, and now he's at lightweight. So I'm not sure it's as big as what perhaps people are making out. Like you see something like an Adrian Broner against a Sean Porter, and you say, oh, Porter's naturally the bigger man. Like, definitely, because Porter could never touch 130 pounds, which Broner did. Whereas Linares has touched the same weights that Lomachenko has. That's what kind of plays into my mind.
Yeah, that's right. But as I said, he's not the big, but he's been fighting at the weight since around 2014. I think he moved up. So he's had 9-10 fights at the weight, I should think. So it's that growing into the weight.
Well, can he make Linares quit?
No.
Can he do it? No.
I think he could stop him late, and what a statement that would be. I think he's got enough to stop him late, or a win on points. If you put him, asking for a prediction, I'll say Linares will be stopped late. I don't think he'll quit. And also, as Anthony stated, when I asked Anthony the question, he's also about his trainer for the first time.
Is he not going to be in the corner? Because I know he hasn't been there in camp because of Hay, but why is he not in the corner? Because the Hay fight's done now.
I think, look, he hasn't been in camp with him all camp. I think he's decided to stay with Hay. Look, I'm not here to speak for Ishmael, the trainer, but look, it's a money game, boxing. He must probably thought I can make more from Hay and Joe Joyce. I'm not here to say that's right, but that's what he may have been thinking. That he's more lucrative staying over here, training Joe Joyce, training David Hay, and maybe working with other ring star boxers. We don't know what went on between them. They both kept very quiet on there. It's certainly a surprise. He hasn't been in camp at all, and there's no way you're going to suddenly fly to America this week and suddenly whoever's been looking after camp for 8 weeks take over.
Well, tell me about Linares then, because Linares, when you scroll through his career, and this comes up every time he's involved in a big fight, and notably over on these shores, whenever it comes up, people go back through his career and they look at the stoppage defeats, they look at the knockout losses, the upset defeats. Is there a danger that perhaps because of his success against loved British fighters, Anthony Crolla, Kevin Mitchell, really well-liked fighters, because of his success against them, he might be being overrated a little bit by our journalists? What do you think?
He's not a pound for pound top 6 or 7, let's put it that way, but he's still an elite world champion, Dev. I mean, the second fight against Crolla was textbook. That was a textbook performance. Okay, Luke Campbell's a much better fighter. Campbell's got that style that gave him problems. The first Crolla fight, he'd been a year out injured. Against Kevin Mitchell, that was the night Kevin Mitchell finally delivered the potential we've always thought he had. Mitchell was brilliant that night, but he still came off second best. And when you go back to the stoppage losses, he's been in this division now, 4, 6, 7 years. Sergio Thompson was stoppage loss. was 6-7 years ago. He's had about 12, 15 fights since then. You know, he's been fighting at world level. You know, I said he moved up at the weight, 4 years. That's when he's been fighting. We're fighting world titles at lightweight for 4 years, but he's been in the weight class since around 2012 when he lost to Sergio Thompson. You know, and it goes back to what I was saying. He was perhaps growing into the weight then.
Yeah, perhaps so. Well, Lomachenko is a clear favourite with the bookies ahead of the fight, and we thought it would be good to get a bit of insight from a man who shared 10 rounds with the man they call the Matrix. Here's Steve Lillis with undefeated super lightweight Sam Maxwell.
Sam, thanks for joining us on the BoxNation Podcast. You're a go-to man when anyone in Britain wants to talk Vasyl Lomachenko, having gone 10 rounds and boxed him twice. Break up his fight against Jorge Linares that we have on BoxNation on Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's a tough fight. Everything Linares is good at. I think Lomachenko will struggle with it, but I think it'll be just the same as all his fights. He'll ease into it the first couple of rounds and just suss him out, and then take over in the late rounds and catch up with him.
Do you think he can stop Linares?
I think he can. Yes, because Linares seems to like working bursts and he likes his breaks, and he's got really flashy combinations and fast hands, and he's long, but he does work in bursts a lot, especially in the later rounds. And I don't think he'll be able to do that against Lomachenko, and that'll cut his rest. And I think Lomachenko will get to him and stop him.
Do you think there's a chance he could quit, make another one?
I really do think he could, but no, actually, when I really think about it, no, I don't think he will. Yeah. I think he'll go out on the shield, I think he'll go out on the shield rather than quit.
Yourself, when you fought Lomachenko, when you look back now, and you must get asked about it every day, do you look back on it with pride, or what that you went 10 rounds with him in 2 fights, or things you could have done better even?
Oh, 100%. I could have done better looking at it. I was only really a novice on the amateur world level as an amateur then, but I still take that pride out of it that I did 10 rounds with him, and I stood up and I took the fights, and I didn't make a show of myself. I didn't do too bad against it at the time. People were still talking about him like he's the best boxer on the planet, best amateur, only been defeated once. But I took him 10 rounds, and I frustrated him a lot, especially in the early rounds of both fights. So I definitely take pride from it, and I love seeing him do well now because he's a great champion.
I mean, as you say, you were just a novice. He'd had about 380 fights, most probably 250 of them on the international stage, I should think.
Yeah, exactly. And I probably had about 5.
And was it right? Is it the first fight or second fight you wasn't meant to fight him, and it's only when he looked at you in the dressing room you realised? Yeah,
the second, no, both times I might not be fighting, but the first time I was supposed to be fighting this guy called Rudenko from Ukraine, and then we get to Kiev, and I've been watching the videos and him and that. I thought, I've got no problem, I'll beat this guy. And then we get to the weigh-in, and Lomachenko walks in, and I thought, and all the lads started laughing because I was saying, like, why do you reckon he's here? And they were like, Sam, you'll be fighting him 100%. I said, nah, they wouldn't do that on the day. And their general manager comes over and says, yep, yeah, sorry, Rudenko's pulled out today. We've had to call Lomachenko up this morning, and he said he'll take the fight, so you'll be fighting him. And then the second time, there was supposed to be, there was a few at each weight on the WSB team, so we had an Irish lad. He was supposed to take it. He said no. Then we had Josh Taylor supposed to take it. He said yeah. And he got to about 2 weeks before, or a week before Josh Taylor was fighting him. He was doing hill sprints up the stairs, like sprinting up the stairs on GB. And Taylor goes over on his ankle, sprained his ankle swells up, so he couldn't fight. So I was literally the only one left again. But I was glad I fought him the second time because I did a lot better the second time. So I'm glad that it all happened. Oh, well,
great experiences, and also you're having some great experiences as a professional so far. You're impressing a lot of people, aren't you?
I am, it's all going well for me. I've got a great team. Warren's been able to, and BoxNation been able to get me on some great shows, and then my managers have sorted a lot of things out for me, but it's all about my talent now as well. Like, I'm getting the wins. They're only journeymen. People are supposed to be beating them, but the way I'm beating them, I'm just, like, brushing them aside. Like, it's a different level than just beating them on points or going a distance. So, like, I'm making it look easy, and but I'm really enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to the step up I'm going to be having in the future, and just hopefully my career just goes from strength to strength.
Well, what are the plans that MTK and Frank Warren have got for you? Is it just continue developing this year, and then next year a full-scale assault on whoever's in your way?
That's what I think it'll be. Yeah, once I get to, I'm on 7 fights now. Once I get to 10. I think then I'll be pushed on to take over Steve. Well, I'll be challenging people definitely, and I believe in my ability, and You know, I look at fights now. In the past, I'd look at fights as more of a fan. I'd just be watching them because they're good fights. But like, I'm looking at fights now as if I'd be fighting them. Like, I think, I could catch him with a jab there, or he does this and does that. So, you know, I'm already preparing myself for when it comes to my challenges to people.
I know you're not one to start shouting your mouth off at people. You're not like, you know, a lot of boxers in that way. You know, you're sensible and realistic about when the right fights are coming at the right time. But who are the boxers you're looking at thinking, wow, that's someone I'm going to have to beat. There's someone I have to be at my best against. Is there anyone particularly out there domestically that you're looking at?
There's a few. There's Glenn Foot's just come back and he's beat Jason Easton and took the Commonwealth title, and he might be fighting for the British title, so there's him. Yeah. Then there's obviously Josh Lever, O'Hara. They've just announced that they're fighting. That's a massive fight. I could fight either the winner or the loser of that in the future. You know, that's a possibility. So that's a massive fight for two people at my weight. Who else we got? Terry Flanagan's a bit ahead of me. He's world level now, so probably a small chance of fighting him. Yeah, there's just a load of fights out there for me, Steve. I'm ranked like 20 in the 20s now. And but I've looked at all the lads ahead of me, and every fight will be a tough fight. It would be like a 50-50 fight. So I'm at the level now where if I want to be moving up, it's going to be in them. It's going to be in them fights. I'm excited for it.
I know, you know, you're giving us your prediction on Lomachenko against Linares that we have on BoxNation this weekend. Let's get your prediction on two possibly your future rivals, O'Hara Davis and Josh Lever, when they meet.
I'm edging towards O'Hara because he's very hard to hit. He's very awkward, and he's obviously got like really good power. But if Josh Lever can box and use his feet and use his jab, he's a better boxer than O'Hara. I don't think O'Hara's got the greatest feet, so it's an interesting one. It's just who sticks to the game plan, and whether Josh Lever sticks to his game plan or whether O'Hara makes it awkward and brings him into a fight and ends up hitting him and stopping him.
Well, good to hear from Sam Maxwell, and he'll have some big plans himself to make an impact in the pro ranks. On the Linares-Loma front, though, it's clear Crolla is going with Linares, Maxwell is going with Lomachenko, Lillis is going with...
Lomachenko. Late.
Cool, sure.
Late stoppage. Oh, I don't just say he's going. I'll say round 11 stoppage.
Okay, that's very specific, Steve. I like it.
Pressure's on you now, Mr. Sani.
Well, I wasn't going to specify a round, but I've got a Lomachenko, perhaps a corner stoppage. So, you know, you say that Salas isn't going to be there for Linares. Maybe you've got someone a little bit jittery in that corner when Linares is taking a lot of shots from all sorts of angles. Linares not looking himself. Someone might just throw a towel in.
That is a great point, Dev. But as much as you might have someone jittery, you might have somebody too brave as well.
Very true. You know, let's see it unfold. We're live from midnight Saturday night on BoxNation. You want to watch that? Go to BoxNation.com, subscribe to the channel. It's just, well, really, it's just the start of a sizzling summer schedule that we've got coming up. Check out the schedule page. Goodness me, you are in for a treat this summer. Lomachenko Linares, midnight Saturday. We learnt last week that 7-0 20-year-old heavyweight sensation Daniel Dubois would be challenging for the vacant English title on June 23rd on the undercard of the Billy Joe Saunders versus Martin Murray show at the O2 Arena. Tom Little will be the man in the opposite corner, and he has been extremely vocal in calling for the fight, believing he has more than just a little chance of pulling off the upset. Steve Lillis caught up with Tom Little.
Tom, thanks for joining us on the BoxNation Podcast. Your fight against Daniel Dubois, you've been calling for it, and you're not scared of calling for a fight. We know that. Why are you the man to beat Daniel Dubois?
There's a multitude of reasons. I think, not taking nothing away from Daniel, he's a good talent. But as I keep calling him, he's a man-child. He's a child trapped in a man's body, and being so young, he don't really understand what his body's about yet. So I think now's the time to take advantage to him. I plan on taking him out to deep water and holding his little bubble head under until no bubbles come up. I'm going to drown him slowly, so to speak. I just think speed, footwork, and intelligence play a major factor in the beating of him. So yeah, I just thought it's the right time to grab him now while he's young and while I can old man him, I believe.
I mean, you make a great point of why you're the man to upset him, but what would you say to people who might comment, what's Tom talking about? He's lost 5 times himself.
I'm the idea of what a fighting man should be. I've not had a Frank Warren behind me. I've not had an Eddie Hearn behind me. I've took chances. I've took gambles. Some of my gambles ain't paid off. I've never ducked or dodged anyone, and I've never been in a ring with someone that I should not have been in with. Steve, you're a scholar of the game yourself, and a true student of boxing understands that there's a bit more to boxing than just going in there and having a fight. If only it was that simple. But I know my talent, and I'm a good judge of boxing myself, and I know that styles make fights, and Daniel's style suits mine, and that's just long and short of it. But I'll never dodge anyone, and I'll never duck no one, and I'll fight when I'm called upon, as long as everything else is in order. No, but I can end my career tomorrow saying I never ducked out from nobody.
When you're talking of old manning him out of it, and you're meeting him at the right time, while he's still inexperienced. But what else have you seen in these performances that fill you with confidence for this fight?
Well, Daniel was a bit vocal about some stuff in the press release, which was quite refreshing because he don't usually talk. But what I saw with him is he's only dangerous if you're standing still. He don't handle mobility very well. I believe that he'll tire. When I boxed my first ever 10-rounder, and I was boxing Dominic's head off, and then I got into uncharted territory where I'd never been before, and that happens to everyone. Billy Joe, when he done first 10 rounds with Gary Bolden, Billy Joe was light years ahead of Gary Bolden in sense of that, in talent and everything, but he didn't look as great. It weren't his greatest showing because it was the first time he went that uncharted distance. Like, Daniel's going to have to ask himself a lot of questions on the night me and him fight. Am I fit enough? Can I withstand this pace? Tom's making me throw a lot of punches. I play a lot of I'll live inside his head for the next 6 weeks rent free. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm getting at is I don't think he's mentally strong enough to answer the questions that I'm going to be asking him. I'm going to take him to a very deep, dark place, and I don't think he'll pull through. I could be wrong. He could handle it a lot better than we think, but that's my theory to it. That's why I believe I've got the shot of taking his 0.
Have you? I know you're close to your fellow travellers, Billy Joe Saunders and Tyson Fury. Have you spoken to them about the fight?
Yeah, listen, they're all good friends of mine. They're not just friends. I look up to them, like what they've achieved and what they've done for the community in boxing. They've served not only themselves but everyone very very proud the way they conduct themselves and everything that they've done in the sport of boxing. And people not really wanting them to do it, and they've still went and done it. Yeah, and I draw a lot of inspiration from them, and they've always gave me good sound quality advice. So yeah, I'm off up to see Tyson now. Do a few rounds with him. No doubt going to get my head punched in, but what can you do?
And if you beat Dubois, what sort of ambitions do you have yourself after that?
Conquer. That's all I want to do. I want to conquer Britain. I've tried to go to your different routes and everything, Steve, and I've been a very impatient man with boxing, but I want to beat Dubois and I want to go down the British route. Yeah, so just gonna get my head down. I want to take out names. I like the look of Joe Joyce. I like the look of. There's names that I could chuck. I've never been shy to sling a name. Like, all I'm going to say is nobody will be safe. Once I deal with him, whoever I can get put in front of me, I'll be going forward with the same attitude and the same desire. I just want to conquer Britain, and then where the road takes me from there, it lays in God's hands, I like to think.
Well, that was a nice little interview. Steve, he's got a soundbite, hasn't he? He said he's going to live inside Dubois' head rent-free for 6 weeks.
What a quote. I mean, if we put down quotes of the podcast 2018. Find me one that's going to beat that. When we're sitting at the end of the year doing our sound bites of the year, that's the one I want to hear again. Otherwise, I'm not doing the final show of the year. That was brilliant. He was good value, Tom. And what he is, look, people will look at his record and think, what's he on about? A 10-5 heavyweight doing that. But you know what? He is absolutely fearless. And that, yeah, you can see his last fight. He went to Riga in Latvia and took on Filip Hrgovic. You know, he is fearless. He's up in camp with Tyson Fury here in Manchester. So you know how serious he is about this fight. You know, Daniel Dubois has been a magnificent 7 so far, knocking out all 7 victims. And what's going to interest me is when these two have a press conference, how is Dubois, who's a man of ice, doesn't say a word, is just purely focused on boxing, going to react when Tom Little's absolutely in his face screaming blue murder?
Can he get under his skin, Steve?
You know what? I don't think he will, because Dubois just I don't know if it's ice in his. You can either say he's either got ice in his veins, where he's just unfazed by anything, or his focus is just so much on boxing, he's not alert to anything that's happening around his own career, his own life. And that's what I think he's like. I mean, I went running with a few of the lads at the Peacock a couple of months ago, and Daniel was in that group that run on a Thursday, and we were on this run, and everyone was having a joke, and Daniel was just so focused. He was quiet. He ran on his own, did his own thing. He is such a focused man. I just don't think Little will get under his skin. He might be his heart might be skipping a bit inside, but he's pretty emotionless, I think. And he is, it is a cliche we hear so often in boxing, but he just leaves his talking to be done in the ring. And that's the sort of thing, the sort of guy he is. I mean, we'd love to see an animated Daniel Dubois. And I've seen him when I've been around him, like you have, Dev, and I've seen him on the Bunch show. The only time I see him show a bit of animation and another side to him is when his sister's spoken about.
Absolutely.
That's when you see another side to him. But he is just focused driven on achieving his goals in the boxing ring, and couldn't care less what anyone says or writes about it, whether it be a journalist or an opponent.
Well, that's just it. He is like a silent assassin. He is the absolute archetype of that. When they face off, I'm sure they will at a press conference. I'm sure Frank will get these two together with Tom Little's mouth. How is Daniel Dubois going to react when he's got someone in his face mouthing off, maybe even giving him a little push and a pull? We know I think Tom Little's got that in him. I'm so intrigued because Daniel Dubois has got kind of relax mode and attack mode. I don't think there's anything else in between that. If Tom Little pushes him at a press conference, that could be it for Tom Little. I'm so intrigued by this one, Steve.
I think it'll be relax mode, Dev, as you call it. Nice words to use. I think that's what it'll be. I don't think he'll be relaxed, but I think he'll be unfazed and just think to himself, I'll see you on the night, and give him a little stare and walk away. And even if he wins on the night and gets him out of the way quickly, again, I don't think he would ever turn around and say, that's what he said about me on the BoxNation podcast. That's what he said to me when he went eyeball to eyeball at a press conference. That's just me getting an opponent out the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you say how he's emotionless. Daniel Dubois is emotionless, just so focused. I remember speaking to him quite early on. Obviously, he's early in his career now, but maybe a year or so ago, I was just talking to him at the Peacock, trying to get to know him, trying to break through that ice. And I could not get through that ice. I was like, so Daniel, tell me about the sort of comedy that you like. Tell me your favourite comedian. And he was just like, I make myself laugh. So he hasn't even. I couldn't get through, Steve.
Yeah, that's the sort of guy he is. I mean, I've been around, like yourself. I've been around him a lot. He's one. And I like Daniel. He's always been accessible. Professionally, he's very good to deal with. Him and Martin Bowers, his trainer and his father. They're great to deal with. And if you want to go and see him, you always can go and see him. He's just not that way inclined to go and sell a fight with his mouth. That's just the type of. It doesn't make you a bad person. If you go back, Lennox Lewis got millions of column inches But I tell you, he's a lot better now with the media than he was when he was boxing because he misses it. But when he was boxing, he wouldn't have cared less if he ever had to do interviews. He did his talking in the ring. And I was on newspapers around Lennox Lewis's career, and I followed it extensively, virtually every fight, Dev. And I never knew Lennox any better at the end of his career than I did at the start of his career when he was fighting at Crystal Palace Sports Centre and places like that.
No, makes sense, Steve. Well, on the Dubois front, but I'd say the one time in the ring I've seen him perhaps almost break character, looked like an absolute monster, but break that ice cold character in his second fight against Blaise Mendou in Leicester. So at the weigh-in, they faced off, and maybe for the first time, Dubois had someone in front of him who kind of had a little bit of attitude. Mendou in that face-off gave him a little bit of a sideways glance. There was something in his eye that perhaps Dubois didn't like. And then when Dubois knocked him out, it was a barrage of punches up against the ropes. Dubois poked his tongue out. And that's something that we haven't seen since or seen before in our time watching Daniel Dubois. So there's a little bit of attitude there. If you scratch away at the surface, if you plant something in Dubois' head that you might be a danger, or you're looking at him in a certain way, there's something there that can be unveiled, and maybe we'll see that in the Tom Little fight.
Great point, Dev. I've never been told that or noticed that until you've informed me now. So
yeah, have a look back at that Blaise Mendou fight. I think we've got it on YouTube. It's a good moment.
That's interesting. Well, let's see how he reacts after Tom Little. I think we'll see the usual calm, emotionless fella, and that's what that team is. They're very much them to keep themselves to themselves.
Well, tell me this, Steve. Does Tom Little have more than just a little chance against Daniel Dubois?
Hey, it's not a big chance, but this is his opportunity. He's on the O2 Arena stage and one of the best and biggest bills in British boxing of 2018. He's got Tyson Fury in his corner supporting him. He's going to be in a dressing room with Billy Joe Saunders, who's one of his close mates. Billy will be preparing to fight Martin Murray on that bill. And you can be sure Billy will be on the phone to him every day between now and June 23rd, just, encouraging him, telling him how things are, how he can win the fight. So he's got two of Britain's best behind him. So if he's never going to be motivated for a fight, this is the one.
And sparring Tyson Fury as well. That's not going to hurt your development as a fighter, is it?
Of course it's not. I don't know how often he's going to be sparring with Tyson over the next couple of weeks, but they've done plenty of rounds at the start of this week, and it will help him. Tyson's with him. Tyson's supporting him. Tyson wants an upset, even though Fury could most probably fight Daniel Dubois for millions in 18 months.
Well, that's June 23rd from the O2 Arena, live on BoxNation. Tickets are available from AXS.com. It's a cracking show headlined by Billy Joe Saunders versus Martin Murray. O'Hara Davis faces Josh Leather. Steve, a quick line on that fight. That's a cracker that got announced last week.
That is a great fight, Dev, and these are the sort of fights British boxers with a lot to prove going at each other. That is the fight I cannot wait for. That is a hell of a fight. And what I'm going to try and do over next week for you, Dev, is get both men on the podcast. Ooh. Let's get them going head to head. I'm going to go and see O'Hara Davis in a couple of days, and I want to get Josh on the phone for you. And we can put him on the spot.
I like it, Steve. It's what we do at the BoxNation podcast. I can't wait for that fight. When that fight was announced, I was like, oh, okay, that's well done. OD stepping up just kind of straight away. He's out on May the 13th first on the Leeds United, the Josh Warrington versus Lee Selby show, and then he's back on June 23rd against Josh Leather, who's undefeated. So great fight. Anthony Yard features, and Daniel Dubois aims to become the English heavyweight champion at just 20 years old in his 8th fight. Not a night to miss. That's June 23rd, O2 Arena, live on BoxNation. Belfast hero Mick Conlan is coming home on June 30th at the SSE Arena. It will be his first fight back home as a pro, and you can catch it live on BoxNation here in the UK. Our friends at UTV caught up with Mick Conlan at a press conference last week and asked him to sum up his last 18 months.
Yeah, it's been a great start to my career anyway. The last 18 months has been a bit busy, a bit hectic. I've had 6 fights now, 7 next week, 8 by June 30. So it's been a great roller coaster ride so far, and I feel that every fight I've had has been a slight improvement, and I feel I'm starting to improve even at a faster rate now, with working with Adam Booth and stuff. So, I'm happy with how things are going, and the last 18 months have been great.
You're with Adam and Ryan there over in London now. How's that transition been from training out in LA with Manny?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been hard, obviously. Getting used to the new coach and stuff. It does take time, as everybody knows, and I feel it's moved at the right pace for me. I'm happy with how it's went, and I'm looking forward to putting on a great performance next week first and showing a lot of the stuff which I've been doing in the gym and improving.
Obviously the homecoming's going to be amazing, but you're not looking past next week at all, are you?
No, you can't look past next week. I can't look past anything. I learned as an amateur, I'd done it before as an amateur. After I'd beat someone, I kind of was matched against them again. I never thought anything, and I lost the fight, which I thought I should have been winning easy, but and I lost fair and square in that fight just because I underestimated him, and I'll make sure I don't do that again.
What do you know about your opponent for next week?
I know he was WBC Mediterranean champion before. 10 wins, 1 loss. He's definitely stepped up in class. He's held the belt and one of the world belts too. So it's, even though it was a Mediterranean version, but it's still a WBC belt. And I'm looking forward to getting in there and showing what I'm good at. I know he's a step up in class, but I still believe I'm a few classes above that class, and I just got to go in there and prove it next week.
On the big stage again in New York at MSG, it must be a joy and an honour to fight in such a great place.
Yeah, listen, it's Madison Square Garden. It's steeped in history, and so much great fighters have fought there in the past, and I'm honoured to always be a part of that place, and kind of create my own history there, which I feel I'm doing in a good way so far. And next week is going to be no different. They're going to go there and create a bit more history, get another victory, and then focus on Belfast.
You always said there's no place like home, isn't there? You love the fighting atmosphere here and what these fans bring.
Yeah, I think Belfast it's kind of a different animal than anywhere else in the world. The fans are so passionate, and they know they're boxing. They know if you're fighting someone who's no good, they're not going to really give you any buzz about it. So that's why I've got to make sure I'm taking a good step up in class against a quality opponent, which will be revealed soon. But I'm really looking forward to it. The fans here are unbelievable, and I have boxed all around the world, and the atmosphere is just special here.
Talking to your brother Jamie, he's now on board on your management team. What's that relationship like?
It's been great. I am pestering him an awful lot more, but at the same time, I feel that there's no better person to have part of my team as my own brother, because who do you trust more than your own brother or your own family to say? So I feel that we'll have him on board as a part of my management team has been great, and he's doing a great job.
You were at the fight last week, Frampton's fight. Yeah, see an incredible atmosphere there. You'll hope to bring something similar at the end of June. Oh, definitely. Listen, I would love to be able to match that type of atmosphere, and hopefully I will, and I'm really looking forward to that, because the atmosphere last week just made the hair stand up my neck, especially knowing there's just over 2 months away from when I'll be actually going to do it. So even thinking about it now, it just gets me kind of going. Just a couple of questions left. Carl's got his stadium show. Is that something that you dream of one day? 100%. Listen, he's fighting in Windsor Park, and it's been his dream forever to fight in Windsor Park, and I'm really happy for him. I'm really happy. It's going to be an amazing event, a huge night of boxing, and another history-making event by Clark Frampton. Finally, it's been an incredible time in the last, I suppose, 3, 4, 5 years for boxing in Belfast and Northern Ireland and Ireland all over. How many world champions do you think this place can produce, say, by the end of next year? We definitely can produce another 3, I think, at least, maybe more. I feel now, we're out of the golden age of Irish boxing as amateurs. I think now we're under the golden age of professional boxing in Ireland, and that's something to be excited about, because you haven't seen this much people turn pro, and these much high-profile events kind of happen on these shores, and I don't think it's ever kind of been as big as this as what it is now, and that's something I'm honoured to be a part of, and I feel that I'll play a big part in also.
So Steve, Mick Conlan has been busy, and he's going to continue to be busy. He's got 2 fights in the space of 6 weeks. Good to see this level of activity, isn't it?
Yeah, well, when you're in the early stage of your professional career, you can box more regularly than, say, the guys that, you know, constantly fight over 10 and 12 rounds just 2 or 3 times a year. And, you know, Top Rank are doing a sterling job with him. But this homecoming is something special. You know, I've been going through his amateur record, and I can't trace the last time he boxed in Belfast.
Oh, really?
It could be pre-2010.
Oh, wow.
He's had fights in Dublin, but the last one of them in Dublin was around 2014. But since then, it was just non-stop on the road, and he's been a global fighter. You know, the Olympics are in Brazil. Before that, he was in Qatar. He boxed in Bulgaria, in Glasgow, Poland. You know, he's been in Kazakhstan, Belarus, Azerbaijan, Turkey, New Delhi. He's fought everywhere, this guy. But I can't find the last time he fought in Belfast. I even sent him a message on WhatsApp before we started the show, asking him. He hasn't replied to me yet, so he must probably reply when we've finished. Look, you know, and also what another thing I think Mick's starting to look at is Top Rank have also signed Vladimir Nikitin, the man who controversially beat him in the Olympics. So he's not got the fight against just Shaq or Stevenson down the line. He's got revenge against Nikitin on his mind.
Oh, goodness me. I'm sure many people are in battles with Nikitin across the UK, and Conlan can kind of... It was just your pronunciation, Steve, but it amused me. So he's hoping to replicate Frampton's atmosphere, and can he do that?
Look, first time back, there's going to be a great atmosphere there on the night, and the Belfast atmosphere is always special, whether there's 300 people or 300,000 people watching. You know, they're tremendous, passionate fight fans, and they're knowledgeable. And the Frampton receptions, the twice we've been there on BoxNation, have been something to behold. So I'm not going to say we're going to be Frampton-esque, because he's not at the stage where Carl is in his career, but it's going to be still better than most atmospheres with 10,000 fans in there. You know, even if there's not that crowd in there, it's going to be electric on the night.
He's a star. Michael Conlan is a star. You see his debut coming out with Conor McGregor, you know, filling out the theatre at Madison Square Garden. The Irish really, really back their man. And those middle fingers after the Olympics, that rant about how he was cheated, I think these are all great ingredients to make this kid a star, and he's well on his way.
Yeah, he is a star in Ireland. I remember before the Olympics, we were going out there for a couple of press conferences, and when we were getting the cab from City Airport into the city centre there, what was obvious, that Conlan was the face of the Olympics for them. He was the poster boy on all the billboards. His career is just to get bigger, better, and if he keeps winning, he has the potential to be even bigger than what Carl Frampton is right now.
Yeah, wow. Do you think their paths will ever cross? Frampton kind of distanced himself from the idea. They're both at featherweight, is what I'm thinking. Frampton's, 31, Mick Conlan's 26. There's only a 5-year age gap. But could it ever happen, Steve?
Not a hope in hell. Not a hope in hell. They are so close. Them two and Paddy Barnes, they're pretty much inseparable. That trio is so close. There is not, whatever money was offered, that fight will never, ever happen. If that fight happens, I would pack up working in boxing. There's not a chance of it. You know, we can say unfortunate for fans, but they are so close. You only have to look at all the jokes they're mucking around on Twitter, and I can only imagine what their WhatsApp group is like. There's not a chance of that happening at all. No chance.
Well, Steve, after what you just said there about, you know, if it did happen, you'd pack up and no longer work in boxing, you've now got me praying that it never happens. And before, I really wanted it to happen. So, hopefully it doesn't. Tickets are on sale via SSEArenabelfast.com. If you're in Belfast, it's another chance for a big night of boxing there. Come and get behind one of your own. They're working on a big fight for Paddy Barnes as well, which could well end up on this show. It's one not to miss, and it will be live on BoxNation on June the 30th. Gennady Golovkin returned to action over the Cinco de Mayo weekend live on BoxNation. He was supposed to be in with Canelo, but we all know what happened there. And rather than waiting it out, Triple G was insistent on fighting on the date and delivering a present for his fans. That present came in the form of a 2-round demolition job on a game Varnes Martirosyan. Here's Triple G with Max Kellerman after the fight.
Varnes, he is a very good fighter. He punched me a couple of times, just after first round I said this is serious business. This is a serious fight.
That's what it looked like. It looked like he got your attention at the end of the first round, and you came out all business in the second.
Absolutely. This is my second round is all business. First round, just I'm looking just his strategy because I know his team very good team. Congrats, and just second round, this is true business.
Given the date at which Canelo had to pull out of tonight's fight that was supposed to take place in Las Vegas, you had to come up with a last-minute replacement opponent. Vanes has a name. He's a good fighter. He's a known fighter. He has a pleasing style, so it's understandable that he's a replacement opponent. But now this fight is over. The middleweight division is chock full of opponents who suddenly seem willing to fight you. What do you want to happen now?
I want everybody.
When you say everyone, obviously the hope would be a Canelo rematch on Mexican Independence Day weekend. Is that what you're interested in?
Absolutely. He's ready. Just I'm ready every time.
Are there any other middleweights out there who you'd be interested in making a fight with?
It doesn't matter for me. I'm still champion last 9 years. Just I have a lot of belts. Just guys, just come and just take my belt.
But the reason I ask for names now is because a couple years ago, the division didn't have a lot of interesting fighters. But now Daniel Jacobs has made a real name for himself. Charlo is there. Andrade's around. There are suddenly a lot of good fighters in the division. Are there any of those named fighters who are elite fighters that you would like to fight?
Hopefully, we're very soon see you this fight with these guys. It doesn't matter for me. With who?
To clean out the division.
Absolutely.
Gennady, thank you very much. Good to see you again. Hope to see you in several months in the ring with Canelo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for everybody, for your support, and congratulations for Cinco de Mayo. Thank you, guys.
Steve, another win for Gennady Golovkin. He absolutely walked through Martirosyan. That second round in particular was just a real demolition. What did you make of it?
Look, Martirosyan had been inactive. You know, he came in there. He brought what he could to the fight. Golovkin did what you do to someone who's been out the ring for a couple of years, who stepped in at short notice, showed him no sympathy, showed his ruthless side, was alarmingly accurate and absolutely punched holes in him. It was a fantastic performance. Forget the opponent. He got him out the way sensationally. And all I can do is praise Triple G for his latest victory, which I think was his 38th victory and 34th inside the distance. He's quite magnificent. He might be 36, but he's still a brilliant fighter, and he's the man to beat in the middleweight division, whatever the claims of Canelo and, of course, our own Billy Joe, who must be desperate to fight him. And it's a fight we're desperate to see.
Well, Max Kellerman in the interview there, he mentioned as potential opponents other than Canelo for Golovkin, he mentioned Danny Jacobs, Charlo, and Andrade. He mentioned all the Americans. Why does he not mention Billy Joe Saunders? What happened?
Go back to something Frank Warren said after Billy Joe Saunders played with David Lemieux. That was on HBO. And let's be sure, HBO were having them against Lemieux for Lemieux to be crowned. Let's not make two bones about it. They showed what a threat Billy Joe is. Now, Billy Joe going and fighting Gennady Golovkin or Canelo and upsetting some of HBO's ratings, Kings, isn't good business for HBO.
And if they want to pass that torch of Golovkin, if someone wants to give Triple G his first L, I'd imagine that our US broadcasters would be keen for it to be a US fighter, hence mentioning Jacobs, Charlo and Andrade, mentioned all the Americans. And also, Steve, something I've heard this week, Abel Sanchez, Gennady Golovkin's trainer, has come out saying that Saunders doesn't want the fight. Well, let me just remind you of something. I've got this clip right here and I'm going to play it now.
I look easy to hit, I look easy to hurt, I look easy to put down, I look like I run out of gas, but you can't hit me. I've beaten enough dog meat now. Golovkin, you keep saying you want my WBO belt when I was 14 stone out of shape and wasn't in love with boxing, then you wanted to fight me. Fight me now. Now fight me, we'll see a different story, you'll be punching fresh air.
Steve, Saunders wants Golovkin. Now, in terms of Abel Sanchez's argument, he's been talking about things like, well, Saunders asked for $7 million just to fight Danny Jacobs. Imagine what he's going to ask for against Golovkin. I would imagine that Saunders was just kind of posturing, because Danny Jacobs has got nothing that Saunders is after. So I think there's a bit of misdirection coming out from that camp.
Forget the what you're talking about Lillis we're going to do. This is what you're talking about, Lillis. Because what are you talking about, Abel? So forget what we were doing this week. This is what you're talking about, Lillis.
Oh,
what
God,
are you talking about, Abel? I want you on the podcast to tell me what you're talking about. Because you know what, Abel? Billy Joe had signed for the fight last year. It was going to go to Kazakhstan in June last year and fight him. They've done everything they can, the Saunders camp, to make this fight happen. Now, I'm not going to say Billy Joe Saunders is going to go and destroy Golovkin before people say, accuse me of that. I do give Billy Joe a good chance, though. But what I am saying is he wants to fight, and Abel Sanchez is talking rubbish.
Yeah, I agree with that, Steve. And again, it's not a case of we're just saying, oh, Saunders will definitely beat Golovkin. This is now a conversation, because a couple of years ago, you'd put the names together and you'd say, yeah, but Saunders has just struggled past Arthur Akavov. He doesn't live like an athlete. He doesn't look like who he should look like if he wants to be in with the likes of Gennady Golovkin. But now, after that David Lemieux performance, this is actually a conversation. And I think it's starting to sound like it's a conversation that Team Golovkin doesn't want to be a part of. I
think they are absolutely sweating, praying, hoping they get Saul Canelo Alvarez done for September. Golovkin. Yeah. That's their money. Then they might look at Billy Joe. But why don't they just come out and say, look, it's great that Billy wants to fight, and that's a great unification, but we want the Saul Canelo Alvarez fight because that's where our big money is. That is the fight that will make everyone in that team for life. So why not just go and say that and then say we're coming for Billy Joe? And you know what Billy Joe was like? He knows the value of a pound note more than most. You know what he'd turn around and say? I get that. Fair play.
Yeah, no, he has said that. He said that several times. He understands that he might be being overlooked because of the business decision of it. That's if you fight Canelo. If you fight someone else, though, don't know about that.
Oh, if he goes and fights someone else now that's not Billy Joe, I won't get it at all, because Gennady's made the thing about wanting all the belts that he's good for boxing. He could also turn around and say, I tell you what, I don't want nothing to do with you, Canelo, because you flunked your drugs tests. That could be good for boxing if he did that. But I get, it's a business. I get why he wants to fight Alvarez for the money, but don't go down the route of Billy Joe doesn't want the fight. I'm sure that's not Golovkin speaking.
Golovkin's a fighting man. And tell me also, with this win, Golovkin's tied the record of Bernard Hopkins in terms of middleweight title defences. What says you about that? How do you feel about that, Steve?
Hey, I'm with it. He would have been a fantastic middleweight in any era. He is an elite fighter, an elite athlete. He come through an old Eastern amateur system. I've got nothing but saying he would have stood up against the best middleweights in any era. People might look at some of those that he defended against, but you can look at some of the people who Bernard Hopkins faced, that might not have been the greatest in the world. Andrew Council, people like that come to mind. Steve Frank, people like that. So, you can pick holes. You have 20 defenses. You're only going to have an elite fight once every 5-6 fights. So you have 20 world title defenses. You're not going to have more wars than Rommel had.
Nicely put, Steve. Nicely put. Well, Gennady Golovkin, another knockout win, and we look forward to seeing his next move. Well, we are a 24/7 boxing channel, so to gear up for Lomachenko versus Linares Thursday at 3:30, we've got Lomachenko versus Mariaga. Now, that's the fight where Lomachenko gets himself into the corner. Now, I'm right here, aren't I, Steve? This is the fight. He gets himself in the corner, and then he kind of ushers Mariaga in. Mariaga throws a few shots, doesn't land anything, and Lomachenko starts dancing. It's one of those showboating displays from Lomachenko.
You remember everything about Lomachenko, and I thought I did from the Olympics in 2012, but I'm not even going to question you there, Deb.
Lomachenko is my G. That's what I tell my friends. So live this Friday at 7 o'clock on Sky Channel 427, free to air. It's Bunce's Boxing Hour. Bunce is back with Barry. They will be waxing lyrical about Vasyl Lomachenko. Steve, do you know anything else that's coming up on that show?
Yeah, well, I'm going off later this week to see O'Hara Davis. I think there'll be something with him. There might be something with Zelfa Barrett as well coming up.
Okay, fascinating. I mean, last week they had the fella from First Dates. He's just popped up.
Fred's a boxing nut. Yeah. I know Fred well. He's an absolute boxing nut. Dev. And if you ever in London and you pop up to his restaurant with Mrs. Sarni, just telling you work for BoxNation, mate, and you'll get the best table in the house.
Fred,
He's
if you're listening,
man, Fred.
Yeah, I want that table, Fred. You know, if you are listening, sort me out, sort me and Mrs. Sonny out, and you know, I'll say, oh, you know, Fred's great on BoxNation Twitter. You know, there's a mutual exchange of goods there. We can have some fun, Fred. So Saturday midnight, Lomachenko versus Linares. It's the big one. It's the one we've been talking about. It's the one we can't wait for. It is the fight of 2018, and it is just, you know, it's blue chip, isn't it? This is what you live for as a boxing fan. Come on, Steve, give it to me.
Look, I've said it earlier, it's the fight of 2018, maybe 2019 too, for the next couple of years. The fight, you know what, I feel a bit sorry for them both, because you can argue it's gone under the radar a little bit, very slightly. Like it's on fire now this week. You can feel it's coming.
It's all going to ramp up this week.
It's gone under the radar a bit, because I think it suffered from the hangover of Canelo and Golovkin rematch not taking place. That dragged on for so long. And it's sort of, everyone was talking about what the rights and wrongs of that. And this fight sort of been forgotten until about a week ago, when everyone started talking about it. And then I'm sure when they get in the ring Saturday night, it's a fight everyone will still be talking about next weekend.
It is a beautiful fight. Michael Conlan, he will be on that show as well in New York. And keep an eye on the BoxNation schedule as well. Keep an eye on our social media pages. This time last week, we didn't even know we were going to bring you Golovkin at the weekend. So sometimes we just bring it in late. We keep you on your toes. Keep an eye on what we are doing. And there's no better time to subscribe to BoxNation, because right now, for Sky customers, there is a free registration offer. Use the offer code CHAMPIONS and we'll take off the £8 reg fee. We're just going to wipe that off for you. So, Steve, another great week, another great show. We've heard from Tom Little, who's talking a big game. Heard a bit of Crolla. Heard a bit of Sam Maxwell talking about Loma, Linares. Mick Conlan's been on the show. Tell me you've had fun.
I always have fun talking to you. I love talking particularly about Linares and Lomachenko. Cannot wait to be in the BoxNation studio Saturday night from midnight.
What a treat for boxing fans. What a treat for BoxNation subscribers. Keep those iTunes reviews coming as well. They're really starting to trickle through now. So if you like what you're hearing, give us some love. If you don't, throw us some shade, but don't do that on the reviews, because it'll make all the reviews, like, the stars go down. So just tell us you love us, please. Especially Steve. He loves love, don't you, Steve?
Oh, I want love all the time, mate. I want love. I want a harem around me, but I want the harem to be on the iTunes page where they leave comments. I want a harem of people there telling us how brilliant we both are, Dev.
Beautiful words, Steve. And I just want a pat on the back. Remember to tweet us any comments at BoxNation TV, at Steve Lillis, at Sonny Dev, and subscribe to the best boxing channel in the world, 24/7 boxing, at BoxNation.com. It's finally here this weekend. Lomachenko versus Linares. Lomachenko can become a freeweight world champion. Linares is already a freeweight world champion. Best lightweight in the world against maybe the best boxer in the world. We cannot wait. We'll be live from midnight this Saturday night. Enjoy.